The sirens weren't the first sound I heard. It was the banging, the kind of pounding that makes your chest tighten before your brain even catches up. Open the door! I stood frozen in the hallway. Midnight. My phone buzzed with a missed call from my brother. 30 minutes earlier. I hadn't answered. The lock broke under steel hands. Officers flooded my house like a swarm of shadows, boots heavy, voices clipped, movements rehearsed. Their flashlights carved the dark into shards. One of them yanked my bedroom closet open. His voice cut the silence. Found it. A bag. White powder. Too neat, too perfectly placed, sitting like a trophy. I shook my head. Words wouldn't come. My pulse slowed, strangely calm, as they cuffed me. You're under arrest. I stared at the floor. My prints would be there, I already knew. The ride in the back of the squad car stretched like hours. The red-blue lights flickered across the glass. A reflection of me, expressionless, hollow. But beneath the surface, something had already begun to crack open. And when I saw him in court, standing tall, pointing at me, his words burned through the air. I saw him dealing. He kept the drugs in his closet. My brother, my blood. The jury believed him. I didn't. The cell door closed behind me with a sound that echoed too long. Iron on iron. I sat on the narrow bed. My hands rested still. My mind wasn't. My brother's voice replayed, every syllable cut clean, rehearsed. His eyes had been steady, too steady. Not the eyes of a man forced to betray, but of one who had waited for the stage lights. Why? The question looped. No answer came. Only memories. The way he had been watching me for weeks. Too quiet at dinners. A flicker of something unreadable in his glance when I spoke. The call I hadn't answered. Half an hour before the raid. His timing had been perfect. Too perfect. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't desperation. It was strategy. Family doesn't destroy you by mistake. And yet, he had. I tried to reject the thought. I tried to convince myself there had to be someone else, something else. But the evidence sat heavy. My fingerprints, my house, his testimony. I closed my eyes and let the truth settle like poison in my veins. He had framed me, and he thought I'd rot quietly in here. I learned to listen in prison. Men talk. Guards talk more. I didn't rage. I didn't shout my innocence. I wore silence like armor. People trust the quiet man. They don't see the storm. I started piecing fragments together. A friend owed him money. Another swore he'd seen him meeting someone late at night, outside a bar, always with an envelope. Someone else muttered about debts, gambling, dangerous people. It formed a picture, grain by grain. He was drowning. He needed a lifeline, and he had chosen me to sink instead. Still, I needed proof. Proof sharp enough to cut through the lies he'd sown around me. I wrote letters. To lawyers. To an old friend who owed me a favor in the DA's office. To a detective I knew still cared about truth more than politics. Every word was precise. Every request calculated. Phone records, bank statements, surveillance footage. And then, the piece that mattered most. A lab test. A quiet favor pulled from someone who understood how evidence really worked. The powder that had belonged to me. Weeks crawled into months. On the outside, he lived free. I imagined him smiling at family gatherings, wearing the mask of loyalty, while I sat in steel silence. But I was patient, because storms don't announce themselves, they build. And then they break. The envelope arrived under the radar. A thin packet slid through legal channels. My hand shook once when I opened it. Only once. Lab results. Not my fingerprints. Not entirely. Transferred prints. Partial lifts. Sloppy, almost lazy, like someone had pressed my hand against the bag after wiping it. And the powder? Not what the police believed. Cut with something untraceable. Something only a desperate amateur would use. The detective's note was short. Your brother bought this. Witness places him at the drop. I folded the paper, breathed in. The storm inside me turned still. When I saw him next, it wasn't in court. It was visitation. He walked in with that same steady face, the mask he wore so well. He sat, smiled faintly. "How are you holding up?" I slid the papers across the table, watched his fingers hesitate before touching them. His eyes moved fast, too fast. Line by line, I saw his composure fracture, his jaw stiffen, his breath falter. I said nothing. He looked up, and for the first time, I saw fear. "I trusted you," I said finally. My voice was flat, stripped of anger, of pain. Just truth. His lips parted. "It's not what you think? It's exactly what I think." I leaned back, calm, calculated. Internal Affairs already has this. The DA, too. They're very interested in why your statements don't align, why your finances suddenly cleared up after my arrest, why the powder doesn't match any real supply chain. His face drained pale. "You set me up," I continued, each word deliberate. "And now, they know." He shook his head, desperate, cracking. "We can fix this!" I cut him off with silence. Silence sharper than any word. I stood, collected the papers, left them just out of his reach. Enjoy the feeling, brother. The walls closing in, the eyes watching, the doubt spreading. I walked away. Behind me, I heard his voice break, a choked, strangled sound. Not from guilt, from fear. And for the first time since that night, I felt the balance shift. Weeks later, my release came quietly. The charges fell apart, the evidence reassembled like glass shattered and remade. The world outside was colder than I remembered, but it was mine again. He wasn't free, not anymore. They had him. His debts, his lies, his testimony unraveling in public. I didn't watch the trial. I didn't need to. People asked me if I'd forgive him, if blood was thicker than betrayal. I laughed once, quietly, at the thought. Blood had framed me. Blood had pointed at me and condemned me. Now blood was bleeding out, and I wasn't there to watch. I had no pity left, no rage either, only clarity. He destroyed himself. I only let him. And the last words I ever spoke of him were as cold as truth itself. My brother is dead to me, and I buried him without digging a grave.